Everyone. Sorry for the delay. Just wrapped up another meeting a couple minutes late there. So I looks like we have quorum, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's now 4:03 p.m. I'd like to move on to disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. If there is any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof, you can make that statement now or when the item arrives on the agenda. I'd like to now move to the approval of the agenda. The motion is that the agenda be approved as presented. Is there any request or revisions to the agenda? Seeing none. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Gary, Jay, all in favor? So moved. Thank you. Now moving on to the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any revisions to the minutes? Seeing nothing, I'd like to motion that the that the minutes dated April 1st, 2026 be approved. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Sandra and Josiah, sorry. All in favor? So moved. Thank you. We have no delegations or presentations, so we're going to move into staff report and heritage applications. Major heritage permit application for 19 Bridge Street. I'd like to welcome Drew Brennan, Senior Planner, to present the major heritage application for 19 Bridge Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If someone wouldn't mind confirming for me that they can see my screen, thumbs up would be great. Excellent. Thank you so much. The subject property for this heritage permit is 19 Bridge Street. The purpose and effect of the application is twofold. First, to repair and repaint the existing facade of the commercial unit on the ground floor, and then to install a new commercial fascia sign. I will note that there is an enclosed balcony on the second floor. There's no work being proposed as a part of this heritage permit towards that balcony. As some background, this is a mixed-use building within our Heritage Conservation District in the downtown. There's a new commercial tenant that will be occupying the building, Sarah's Kitchen, which will be a cafe and offer catering services. It is designated under Part 5 of the Ontario Heritage Act as being within a HCD, and the HCD does identify it as a strongly contributing building. So as I said before, there's really two aspects to this heritage permit. The first being the repair and painting of the existing beadboard on the facade. In addition, the applicant is proposing to replace the existing doorway with a full-length glass door. In addition, they are looking to install a new commercial fascia sign, which is comprised of pin-mounted channel letters, as well as a blade sign which protrudes perpendicularly off of the face of the facade into the right-of-way. In terms of our evaluation, the HCD plan does explicitly state that any new commercial signage requires a major heritage permit. In terms of guidance, we don't explicitly regulate color or font size of the sign. More so, the HCD plan says that it should be compatible with the proportions of the host building as well as the overall heritage character of the district. In that sense, signs aren't required to be contemporary in nature. Pardon me, they can be contemporary in nature and don't need to have necessarily a historic look to them. In addition, I just want to note that any heritage approval for a new sign doesn't alleviate the need for a sign permit under our sign bylaw. In terms of storefronts, the HCD does give us some guidelines to work off of. Importantly, storefronts define the visual character of the district. Retaining recessed entryways is important, as well as emphasizing predominantly glazed design. We can see here on the right historic view of the storefront here, just where my cursor is. Obviously, there was more glazing incorporated into the storefront than what's there today. Although the applicant isn't proposing to bring this back, we do see the installation of a new full-length glass door as a step in the right direction. I will also note that the applicant isn't set on the color of trim. I'll just flip back so we can see. See here two options in terms of either white or gold. Like I said before, although we don't regulate color, I believe they're open to recommendations from the committee in terms of what would be most appropriate. And so with that, staff are recommending approval of the permit as shown in the recommendation on the screen. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Drew. Any questions from the committee members? Jay.
Drew, you said that the bylaw doesn't allow us to sort of pick paint colors or signage font, but I had a question. Is there any interest in at one point coming up with a list of colors that are applicable to the Heritage Conservation District? I know, I think Perth might have a list of colors that they use, and I know some other heritage districts, come up with a list that are kind of appropriate. I think in this case, the blue looks great. I think it's a huge improvement, especially on that block that's a little tired. But just wondering if we've thought of that as a committee or a group at all.
So through the chair, that's currently not something that's being contemplated in the short term. Although I will say that we are anticipating to do an update to our HCD plan in the near future. And so I would say there will be opportunities for additional consultation with the committee in terms of what they'd like to see in terms of those adjustments. So paint color could certainly be something that's included in that update.
Great. Okay, good to know. I think this is a huge improvement, though. I think it looks really nice.
Thank you, Nate. Jay.
Thank you, Chair. Were they asking us to select the color for them in terms of the two options or just for recommendations?
Through the chair, my understanding is that they're undecided between the two and would welcome feedback from the committee in terms of if there's a preferred color that they feel would best match the character of the HCD.
In that case, are we going to decide here amongst ourselves, come to a consensus, or just simply send it back open option for them?
Sandra?
I was just going to say, could we see that color on the screen again, please? If we are going to decide, would be useful. There was the blue and the gold.
Through the chair, I can just share my screen here. I
Yeah,
will
thank
also
you.
add that the contractor on behalf of the applicant is actually on the meeting. So if there are specific questions in terms of the works being proposed, they can be directed to the contractor as well. But I will share my screen here. Yeah, so the portion that was undecided was the color of the trim specifically. So the two options would be a white, which is in line with what's existing, or a more gold color, which is fairly consistent with the color of the sign that's being proposed.
Okay.
Does anyone have any preference?
Well, I prefer the gold one that matches the sign, but that's just me. I like the look of that.
I agree with Sandra. I think the gold looks pretty classy.
Mhm.
Michael or Drew, can you tell us where exactly the round sign is going? Is it going on the side of the building?
Through the chair, so the location was not explicitly provided. My understanding is it would be affixed to the beadboard as opposed to a brick facade. I know it is shown on a brick facade here. My understanding is it would be on the beadboard in some location. I do want to also add that there are just a number of other considerations when it comes to installing perpendicular signs like this from a municipal requirement standpoint under the sign bylaw. So there are additional insurance requirements and a requirement for what's called a license of occupation when a sign is within the public right of way. So at this time, the applicant is still deciding on whether they want to go down that route. However, they did want to include the heritage approval of the sign as a part of this permit, so as to not require them to have to come back should it not be included within the scope.
Thanks, Drew. I'll vote for the gold as well.
All right. I don't know if the applicant wants to speak to any of what we've discussed. They're welcome to jump in if they'd like to. If not, I'm going to move towards the motion.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I'm Eric Tyler. I'm actually the husband of Sarah Baird. She's the owner of Sarah's Kitchen. The two options, just as an alternative to what's already there. Again, I think Drew described it really well, that it kind of matches the look of this strongly contributing building. Just one note, the window frame is white plastic material. So just long-term care of it, maintenance, that's just one thing for consideration if changing the color.
Thank you. Oh, Janet.
Thanks, Michael. I know we're not talking about the balcony, but is it safe?
Drew.
Through the chair, that's a great question. I will say, given that it was not within the scope of this permit application, an in-depth review of that matter was not included in our own review of this. I would say any future applications regarding that structure would definitely have a greater amount of detail regarding structural stability included in it. However, I think for the purposes of this permit application, we're satisfied with the information that's been provided.
I was just concerned that any sort of activity underneath it might cause it to be less stable than it looks, but maybe it's very stable and that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Drew. Josiah, did you?
I was going to comment on the structural question. It's my field of practice. Is I guess Eric's on the line, but they're the tenant, not the owner? Okay.
Correct.
Then I don't think my comment would be appropriate. And to maybe Janet's comment, I don't think I would be concerned with the work underneath damaging the condition of the balcony above.
Thank you. So I'd like to move forward with a recommended motion that the Heritage Advisory Committee approve the major heritage permit to repair and paint the lower level commercial facade, install a commercial non-illuminated fascia sign and perpendicular sign on the subject lands municipally known as 19 Bridge Street, Almont Ward, Municipality of Mississippi Mills. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that motion? Harold? And Jay, all in favor? So moved. Thank you. Now we're going to move to next agenda item, which is Heritage Register proposed designation, the Legion, 100 Bridge Street, Elmont. A reminder that this proposed designation was brought to the Heritage Committee at the March 4th meeting. However, no recommendation was put forth at the time. And so, Jay?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I will have a pecuniary interest in this particular action item.
Okay. And Harold? Oh, you're muted.
I will have a pecuniary interest as well.
Thank you. Duly noted. So I'd like to now ask Melanie Knight, Director of Development Services and Engineering, to present the proposed designation.
Thanks, Chair. And just to note that Jennifer will be removing Harold and Jay from the meeting and just putting them in a participant status, and we'll bring them back in once this item is done. So I'll just wait for that to happen before we start the presentation, just so we're following all the rules. Okay, I think we're okay. Jay's still showing up there but oh, never mind. Okay. So yes, this is the heritage designation recommendation for 100 Bridge Street, which of course is known as the Legion. I don't think we need to go through the background slide. I think the Heritage Committee members are well aware of what we're doing in terms of the working through the Heritage Register. I do want to say, as sort of a precursor, that the way that Heritage staff Development Services staff, along with Sally, our Heritage consultant, have approached this is that, staff are of the opinion that we have a professional obligation to provide the analysis and the evaluation of these properties to Heritage Committee and then ultimately Council to make a decision. And so while we have had some property owners who've objected to staff's recommendation, we've made it clear to them that it is solely based on that heritage analysis that is required under the Heritage Act, and it ultimately is a recommendation that's presented to committee and then council for approval. So in terms of property owner consultation, I do actually want to say that every interaction we've had with the Legion members, despite their objections, has been very cordial and very respectful. So we definitely appreciate that. Sometimes these conversations can be difficult, but dealing with the former executives and then the new executives that have come online so far, it's been very respectful, and staff really appreciate that. Sometimes it doesn't happen all the time, and it just definitely makes these conversations and the work that we do a lot easier when everyone is cordial. So we have had numerous consultations with the Legion. They received a letter like everybody else who had a property on the Heritage Register back in 2024, and then follow-up emails and phone calls with the executives. And then they have both verbally as well as provided in writing written comments regarding the objections and their concerns with the proposed designation. I will note, for those of you who are not aware, the Legion executives have changed. So the previous executives that we were dealing with will be vacating their spots, I believe, as of the beginning of June, and new executives will be coming in. And so Heritage Committee members were circulated a letter that was received by John Dalgety, who is the new president of the Legion. Hopefully you had a chance to read it before this meeting. And just to provide a little bit more background into the information and the conversations that we've had with the Legion, they do have some proposed projects in the short term that they have explained to staff. So one of them includes waterproofing and installation of the foundation. And as well as that, replacing the front door, as well as rebuilding or constructing new front steps, a walkway and a roof over the back portion of the building. So in discussions with the Legion executives, we walked them through, you know, what potentially could be the requirements if the property was designated before they did these renovations. And items 2 and 3 would likely require a heritage permit, obviously approval from the committee if the property were to be designated. The waterproofing foundation maintenance is not something that that would require a heritage permit. If the Legion undertook these renovations before the property was designated, of course, they would just have to follow through with any other municipal bylaws, whether it be a building permit or any kind of approvals for any encroachments or anything like that from the municipality. Again, this is a bit of a repeat from the presentation that we had the last time this item was on the agenda, but I'll just do a quick recap. So the property, of course, is at the corner of Bridge and Farm Street. It was built in 1874. It did become the Bank of Montreal in 1880. And then in 1947, it was purchased by the Legion. And again, obviously, as I already stated, staff have gone through the 9 criteria that are required in the Ontario Heritage Act and have provided an evaluation and are recommending approval, or sorry, designation. So the first one is criteria 1 that speaks to the physical value of the property, whether it's an early example of a certain style or a rare example. And so shown on the screen, it is definitely an example of a Second Empire style. The mansard roof, which was removed shortly after actually the Legion purchased it in the 1950s, unfortunately due to a fire. It does have features such as the eaves bracket, as well as round-headed windows, and the stone foundation. In terms of criteria 4, the property has associations with a theme, event, or activity, organization, or institution. As we already mentioned, it was a bank branch that was constructed in Almonte, which was at the time an emerging industrial town and needed bank branches. And as well, obviously, already mentioned that the Legion had bought it and has owned it since 1947. It meets criteria 5 that the property has historical or associated value because and it contributes to the understanding of the community and culture. So again, that transformation of Almonte from a small community to a center for textile industries, and that rapid growth necessitated the increasing need for financial institutions in Almonte. And then criteria 6, so the property has historical value or associated value because it demonstrates or reflects the work or ideas of an architect, builder, or designer, theorist. And it does reflect the work of Andrew Bell, who's a well-known architect in Almonte. And the other 3 properties that Andrew Bell designed are up on the screen. So the Woolen Mill, the Church Street School, which was before committee a couple of months ago, and as well as the Holy Name of Mary Church. Criteria 9 is the property has contextual value because it is a landmark. I think that would be hard to argue that the Legion, of course, when I think when people refer to it, everyone knows the Legion building. It is a well-known local institution. It's got a predominant location on Bridge Street, and of course, it's very close to the historic downtown core. And I'll end there, Chair, with the recommendation that Heritage Committee recommend the Council issue a notice of intention to designate 100 Bridge Street under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, similar in effect to the Statement of Cultural Heritage Value that's contained in Attachment A of the report.
Thank you, Melanie. I now look to committee members if you have any questions. Gary.
Because they're not so keen on this, are we just voting in essence to prevent it from being demolished? Is that what, if it was designated, is that the only, outcome we could see, is that it would never be demolished? Is that what we're trying to do?
No,
Through you,
Go
Chair,
ahead,
not
Melanie.
really. I mean, the designation, part of it would be, you know, control or it, you know, some control over a demolition of the building overall, but it also, you know, the designation also would include like renovations or any sort of alterations they make to the property, right? There would be heritage expertise and input from the committee as well as staff. I think Sally could jump in here too if she wanted to, but there is some elements of the property that are not included in the designation, and we did that specifically to allow for future development of the property if the Legion or if a future property owner ever wanted to. So the parking lot and the rear portion of the building is not actually part of the designation, so there's some flexibility built in there as well. So I think it's multifaceted in terms of the heritage designation. And of course, there's the qualitative benefits of heritage designation that, you know, I think we all can appreciate, you know, in terms of preserving that that history, right? The built history of Almonte as well. But to answer your question bluntly, if it's not demolished, we do not have any demolition control over the property. So the property is not designated, and the Legion were to apply for a demolition permit, or a future property owner were, there would be no reason why the building department would not be issuing a demolition permit in terms of
I understood that. It's just that if they disagree with being designated, that means that they don't have to follow anything we say, right?
Through you, Chair, no. If they can disagree with being designated, it's ultimately Heritage Committee's recommendation to Council, and then Council's decision on whether or not to pass an actual designation bylaw, which would be registered on title. So they do have statutory requirements that they would have to satisfy if they wanted to do something to their property. There are rules in terms of, you know, in the Heritage Act about a designated property. So it's not that they would just not do what, you know, or follow the rules. There would be certain rules that they have to follow. Under the building code, the Ontario Heritage Act is considered what they call applicable law, which means that the Ontario Heritage Act needs to be satisfied, if it's applicable, to a building permit before the chief building official could issue a building permit. He's actually legally obligated to ensure that the Ontario Heritage Act is satisfied if it's applicable. So in that case, yeah, they would be obligated. Sally's going to jump in here.
Sally, go ahead.
Also, they do have rights of appeal, so they have made it very clear that they do not support the designation. There is a process which is advertised when the bylaw is advertised that allows them to object to the designation and a hearing to be held. But they would have to, and their arguments would be based on whether or not it does meet the criteria under the Act. Like they, you know, it's based on the designation, not on their desires. So they couldn't go and argue hardship, but they could go and say, you know, we've done the research. We don't agree with your professional. We think that this building doesn't meet this criteria. It isn't representative, you know, or whatever. And every property owner who we've dealt with up to this meeting and going forward, they all have appeal rights, and there is a process. So they can follow that. But again, it's based on the merits of the designation and not on the wishes of the property owner.
Thank you, Sally. Janet. And then Josiah after Janet.
I'm sorry, I got called to the door, so I missed a couple of minutes there. But my question is, having read their letter, are there concerns, the concerns that everyone used to think designation brought with them, and it's just going to cost them a lot more money than they'll ever have. They'll have to stick to rules that they don't agree with, and therefore we don't want it. Is that the impression I'm getting, or am I not? Am I not understanding?
Chair, I would say that Yes, I don't want to speak for the Legion, but I mean, they have conveyed in writing the concern that they have with, you know, the impact to their finances on what a heritage designation would mean, and then the process that they would have to proceed through to get approval on anything that they want to do to the building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Josiah.
Sally, if you're responding to Janet, why don't you go ahead?
Oh,
You're muted. Sally, you're muted.
There, I'm sorry about that. We can't, the thing is, the Ontario Heritage Act, you know, gives municipalities the right to designate under Part 4 or Part 5, but it doesn't give municipalities the right to tell somebody what to do. So if, for example, this is far-fetched, but if a future council thought it would be nicer for that building to have its second Empire roof back, that municipality cannot say that. It's not prescriptive. It can say, this is the way we want, you know, this is, you know, like through consultation, like, say it's the front stairs or the door, you can go reach a conclusion through consultation because they want the new door, but we can't, but the municipality can't say, we don't like your door, you have to have a new one. So that's a very important distinction is that there's nobody who can make them do anything. We can, you know, but when they want to do something, there's a process. So I should make that clear. I think some property owners, and I've been at some of the Legion meetings, and I'm not speaking specifically to them. I can't remember what they said, but just for clarity, you can't say you got to do this.
Okay. Has someone actually said that to them? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, through you, Chair, we've had many conversations with the Legion about what the impact would be for the heritage designation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. So the building is identified as somewhat contributing in the HCD. Is there any protection offered through that process?
It's not in the HCD.
100 Bridge Street is identified as somewhat contributing in the HCD.
Is it in the map?
I'm looking at the table in the appendix 4.
You're looking at that. We need to, like, I don't have the boundaries in front of me.
Oh, it's outside the boundary, right? Okay, sorry.
Yes, through you, Chair, it's not part of the HCD. I wasn't here for when the HCD process happened, but it may have been included originally and then removed, but I don't know. I don't have any history.
In these studies, there's always a difference between the study area and the final recommended area. So
yes, that could be what I'm missing. Okay, so so if it was in HCD, it would be offered some protection if it was contributing. Yes, okay. And sorry, just from my understanding, what's the most recent year of the HCD? The copy that I have is 2014.
Through you, Chair, it's June 2015 is the version that.
Okay, yeah. That could be the case. Okay. My second question was, maybe for those of us who are newer to the committee, how has Mississippi Mills historically handled this this question? Obviously, it's a small town, and there's probably a bit of tenderness around the government pushing things down people's throats. So I'm just interested to know what the consistent approach has been.
Through you, Chair, I can only comment on the consistent approach since I've been here, which is in the last 5 years. And the only designations that we've proceeded with is the ones that this committee has dealt with in the last year, reviewing the Heritage Register. So that's the only, and obviously we've been very consistent with our project that we've been doing here. But so I can't really speak to historically. Unfortunately, I don't have that corporate knowledge.
And there haven't been situations of disagreement?
With the project we've been working on so far, nothing that we've presented to Heritage Committee up to date that we have had where folks have been objecting. No.
Okay.
Not yet.
I mostly asked they don't want to, come to some decision when the house right next door came to a different decision in similar circumstances.
Thank you. Sandra. Oh. You're muted,
Sandra,
Sandra.
you're muted.
There we go. I don't know what happened to the bar at the bottom, disappeared. No, I was just going to say it's a shame if this building doesn't sound like it is going to be designated. It's still a shame to lose some history of the town, because over the years to come, it will just be gone forever what its background was. It was a bank, it was a local architect that designed it, and it was an important, and it still is an important building. So would they consider a plaque or something acknowledging the importance of the building without it being a heritage designated building? I don't know if that could be done, but it's just a shame to lose it, what we know about it. So that was just a thought that crossed my mind, if it could be recognized in some way.
Thank you, Sandra. Certainly, there's always opportunities, and I just want to reiterate, there's not been any note of any idea of demolition or removal of this property. The current property owner very much cares for the property. We respect how much they care for the property. I especially love that the windows are opened up and the murals aren't covering the windows. I think it looks quite fantastic. So I just want to make note of that before we move forward. So I'd actually like to now ask Paul Waters to speak as on behalf of the property.
Paul here. Can you hear me or everybody hear me
Yes.
okay?
Thank you, Paul.
A great meeting, by the way, Michael. Well done. Thank you for letting me speak. I was officially with the new executive, we come into effect, John and myself and the rest of the team, as of June the 1st of this summer. So then we'll be moving forward with it. We're like cold storage now. We're trying to get a lot of feedback and everything from what we're hearing, and I hear some great news from your side, and I also got from a list and from Jennifer of the timeframes, which was nice. I thank them all for that. Just to let everybody know, since we've been there since 70 years ago, there's been and never ever will be any sign of us leaving, and number one, and number two, there'll be absolutely no sign of us doing any changes. We're history driven. When you move in on the executive, we run for a 2-year term, somewhere there, 2 to 4 years. And there's been no history of any problems or nothing of any mention. Our whole goal, as what John had sent out, is to remember the veterans, and that's our goal moving forward too. It's just a place where we can have all of the veterans or RCMP or police a place to go and talk to other people that if they do have PTSD, that type of thing. That's our number one goal. We're not trying to hide anything. We're there, and we're moving forward with that. So that's number one. Number two, I don't own the building. We don't own the building. I've already talked to my zone commander and I've already reached now to Dominion Command. They own the building. And everything that is here and documented, and I have to forward that through, because if there's going to be any changes and it's going to be upward, that's going to have to be sent to our Dominion Command, which is there's 400 legions. I'm not saying it affects them, but indirectly it could, because something will come up, and I don't want to go in any different direction from what you're saying, but at the end of the day, it's whatever Dominion Commands mentioned. Like within our zone, we have 8 legions, and it's all local between, and they're in heritage, and they're thinking of what we're doing too. So Jim Wilson is his own commander, and he's following us. And so will, after this meeting, then I have to get in touch with my 300 and some members of our branch and give them a breakdown and give an email out to all of these people, let them know where we are. And let them know where you are, and moving forward. So, and again, number one, that building, according to us, we love it. It was a great gift that was given to us, and we thank the Bank of Montreal for what they've done forward. Number two, we're very, very afraid of cost. We're a non-profitable organization. We don't make a lot of money, and we continuously battled for our breakfasts and our suppers and our lunches and etc. So just trying to make things go. Things haven't got cheaper. And I don't think the timing was good for us as a new executive moving forward, because now we got to look at a $75,000 bill for the leakages that we have coming through the walls. That has to be fixed. It's overdue. And that's where we're falling into. So there's two things. I think the timing between us, I wish it was a year later. You know what I mean? Because every penny we've got has gone into a savings account, and we're sitting at about $72,000. So if we're sitting at that number and we're looking at how we're going to make that work, we are not looking at overruns for sure. And hopefully we can make that type of work. So again, I just want to go back and let you people know, I'm not saying we're renting the place, but more or less I report upward, and John, and we report up to the zone, which is district, and then to Dominion Command. And whatever we do here, they have to be notified, and all of that is will be brought forward at that point in time. So so it's nice listening to the people that were talking about it, and it's interesting to see where we're going. But as a Legion, we represent the people that are there. So the information, what we're finished here, that will be sent out to our almost 400 members, and they will get back in touch with us. So we're just going to send it out, let them know. And I guess time is tough for us, obviously. And I wish the dates could be pushed off a couple of months. And we hope that you can look at that part of it because of the newness we're coming in. So if anybody on the floor has any questions, I do not mind, because I've been a member of the Royal Canadian Legion for almost 60 years. My dad was a veteran. My family was all connected. And when I talk to the people at the branch, it's just a beautiful spot to be. The history that's involved and the people that come through the door, talking to the people that being in Afghanistan, etc. It's just that's where I want to be. That's where the heart is. And this is a step that's just kind of a bump in the road. As far as what we're doing to do any changes, I was on the House and Property there in the last term when we did the windows, and it was nice. And then we've been talking now for quite a while to change the front entrance, make it more accessible, make it more interest with some grass, and make it more natural. And and I'm looking at the timeframes here, and we can't meet that date. So, and now you're talking about, now we're going to have to go through the Heritage Committee for us to make some changes or even to do any work there, because I can't meet that date. Because we're looking at June, July. So that's where I'm hoping that you can give us a bit of a break, that so we can at least look at that part. See, when we're looking at the basement that's in there now, that if anybody has crawled in bases like I have over the years, it's a thick planted slab stone, and it has to be sealed, and it has to be sealed 360 degrees. And when we start going and start, we don't know where the problem is. So that's going to be a little time consuming too, and I hope we don't run into any problems there. But again, we're not there to do any changes. All we're hoping to do with this term, and I would tend to think every term moving forward, what you see is what you got. We're not looking to make anything other than let's fix the problems we have in the basement, because we got a room down there. We want to make it an area for people to come in and use that as a meeting room at no cost to the public. And we can't do that until we move forward with what we've approached with.
Thank you, Paul.
So you're welcome, Michael.
And thank you for being great stewards of the building over the years to all your.
Oh, yeah. Man, history.
Yes.
I'm not saying I'm old, Michael.
Yeah.
But there is a little snow on the roof.
Mm-hmm. So I turn to Melanie to clarify a few things as we move forward.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to provide Mr. Waters a little bit of comfort, hopefully, that if, as I noted in the presentation, the work on the foundation, the waterproofing and the insulation that needs to be done does not require a heritage permit. It does not matter if it's designated or not designated. There is no heritage permit required. So there is no need to concern yourself with the process in that regard. The heritage process, it does take quite a while to even get to a passing a bylaw on a council agenda in terms of a heritage designation. So I would suggest that perhaps I think we've already talked about meeting with Mr. Waters and Mr. Dalgety after this meeting, and just sort of being able to walk them through the schedule a little bit clearer so that they have a good understanding of the process pieces, how they fit in, if Heritage Committee were to pass this recommendation. So just wanted to assure Mr. Waters that the foundation work that they've been saving money for and everything would not require a heritage permit from the municipality regardless.
Thank you.
Melanie. So I'd like to move forward with the meeting. If there's no more questions or comments, Gary.
Sorry.
No
I'm
worries.
just wondering, before we make this a vote, shouldn't we hear from the owner of the building rather than just the tenant?
Through you, Chair, we did. I realize that Mr. Waters is saying that they're technically a tenant, but from the interactions that we've had, the previous executive members told us that they represent the Legion members who are members of the Legion. Like it's if the committee would like to wait until Mr. Waters has reached out to the higher, I can't remember what he referred them to, but if you would like to delay it until then, that's possible. I will say that currently the legislation does require us to make a decision on these properties before the end of the year, and then once they are off the register, they cannot be added back on the register for 5 years. So we could delay it. We have interpreted that our consultation with the Legion executives has been consultation with the owner, because that is the owner who receives the tax bills and who the municipality contacts in terms of mailing addresses and everything. It does go to the executive members of the Legion. So I'm not trying to split hairs with the ownership piece, but we have assumed that when we're dealing with the executives of the Legion, that we're dealing with the owner of the property.
Thank you, Melanie. Any other questions, comments before we move forward? So I'd now like to put forward a recommended motion that the Heritage Advisory Committee recommends council issue a notice of intention to designate 100 Bridge Street under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, similar in effect to the Statement of Cultural Heritage Value in Attachment A. Is there a mover and seconder for that motion? Nate? Sandra? All in favor? Anyone opposed? So did we get the vote there? And
Chair, I don't think so. I think everyone needs to raise their hands quite clearly, perhaps a vote in favor of the recommendation. Otherwise, the recommendation would just fail.
Mhm. We have 3 in favor.
So
Can I just say something here? The reason I'm not voting for it is because A, the owners and the people who are there don't want it. And as an owner of a heritage building myself, I don't like the idea that you guys are forcing these things, because now if we do vote for it, he does have to get through, if I'm correct, he does have to see us about this front door, about the other 2 things.
Well,
And
it's
we
not,
are,
No,
Gary,
Go
it's
ahead.
not finite. If we vote in favor, it's not finite because it goes to council then.
I'm just trying to tell you how
Mm-hmm.
why I don't feel like I would normally just jump on it. Go ahead, Janet.
I think that it needs to be clarified that we are simply the Heritage Committee. We don't make the decisions. Everything that is decided upon is decided by council. And I think that what we're doing is simply to keep this on the Heritage Register. Michael, perhaps you can clarify that as to what this vote is and what the ramifications are.
Before Michael does that, if we're voting just to say, in effect, to agree with a statement of cultural heritage, I have no problem with that, because that's obviously very plain to see. If that's what we're voting for, then I can vote for it.
Chair, if you like, would you like me to put the recommendation
Yes.
back up on the screen? Hopefully that worked. Can everyone see the recommendation? And maybe I'll just, if you like, Chair, I could provide a little bit of clarification. So Heritage Committee is it is a committee of council. And the recommendation is that Heritage Committee recommend that council issue a notice of intention to designate. There's a series of steps that happen after that. Perhaps maybe the next time we come forward with a designation, we could walk through the Heritage Committee, the steps. But I just want to make it clear that what you're voting for is either in favor of this recommendation that's up on the screen. So you're either voting in favor that the committee recommend that council essentially proceed with the process to designate this property, or you're not voting in favor of it. If it does pass, then that same recommendation will go to council, and then council needs to vote in favor of that for the process to continue. Once we issue a notice of designation, the property owner then has an opportunity to object within 30 days, and then council can make another decision then. And then if let's say everyone's in agreement, like we have with other files, if everyone was in agreement, there was no objection, and then after the time frame is passed for objection, then council could proceed with a notice of intent to designate. So there's quite a long process after this first step for designation. And ultimately, what's being decided on today by the committee, or what's in front of the committee, is a staff recommendation that the committee recommend to council to continue with the process of designation. If the recommendation fails, then that recommendation will not go to council, and it will not proceed with designation. And Jennifer, who is actually the expert on all of this, may jump in at some point with additional technical questions, because she is formerly a clerk. So she does have all the nitty-gritty details of the processes and procedures. Thanks, Chair. I'll stop there.
Thank you. I don't know if Jennifer, did you want to add anything to that before we? Sally.
So this is a question also for Jennifer, because the Heritage Act has changed and I didn't reread it. But in the former act, if this fails at committee, it still goes to council, and then they can choose, because this is a recommendation. But maybe that Heritage Act has changed. So Jennifer, I don't have it in front of me. If you could help out.
I just need a couple minutes to review that portion of the act. I do have it up. Can we take a couple minutes?
That was also my understanding, and therefore my abstention, but so I'd like that clarified. Maybe one question that I have while that's being looked up is the appeal process. Who's the appeal to, should that happen in the future? Is the appeal made to council or to?
Through the chair, I can answer that question for you, Josiah.
Thank
So how the process works is after it goes to committee, it would then go to the committee of the whole and council, and a notice of intention to designate would be sent to the owners. In that 30-day appeal period, it would go to the clerk of the municipality. If there's no appeal received in that time, and the bylaw is then approved by council, the designating bylaw, that appeal after the bylaw has been passed would be through the tribunal.
Okay.
Any further questions for Jennifer? If not, I'm going to go back to read the motion again. That the Heritage Advisory Committee recommends council issue a notice of intention to designate Hunter Bridge Street under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, similar in effect to the Statement of Cultural Heritage Value in Attachment A.
I'm sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
Was Jennifer going to clarify the Ontario Heritage Act
right.
and whether or not the recommendation still moves to council? Or the council still has the option to review the recommendation?
Jennifer?
Hi, sorry, we're just looking it up. If you could just give us a
Okay.
minute, we'll pull up the
yeah.
section and read it out.
Okay.
Hi. Through the chair. So under section 29(2) of the Municipal Heritage Act, Ontario Heritage Act. It states that under consultation, where the council of a municipality has appointed a municipal heritage committee, the council shall, before giving notice of its intention to designate a property under section 1, consult with its municipal heritage committee. Drew and I just consulted quickly there, and because there's nothing that says that the appeal, or sorry, the recommendation has to go to council. We're under the impression that whether you approve or deny it, we would inform council of this. I don't know, Sally, if you have anything to add to that, or Melanie?
I've got the designation handbook open and it says, but I have to, well, I can look up. I think it has to go to council unless you have different rules of procedure. Because if council is I mean, the committee serves council. So I would think that unless you've delegated all authority to the committee, then I think then council has to see it, because then they would never, I mean, they could never see anything. And since they can approve or deny it, and it is council who the appeal is lodged with, but I'm just checking.
For you, Chair, maybe a bit of clarification, like the Heritage Committee minutes will still go to council. So those would still go to Committee of the Whole first for review and passing, and then to council. And if council wanted to disagree with Heritage Committee, let's say the recommendation was not passed, they would still have the opportunity to pull that and pass a motion in support of the staff recommendation if that was their desire to do so. I know that doesn't really make it clear, but I think the message is if it fails at Heritage Committee, council's still going to ultimately make a decision, even if it's just by approving committee minutes and thereby approving the committee motions. That process will still continue, but ultimately what we're looking forward for today is a recommendation from Heritage Committee to make that recommendation to council or not.
Thank you, Melanie. Any other questions before we look at the motion again? The recommendation is as follows from staff: that Heritage Advisory Committee recommends council issue a notice of intention to designate 100 Bridge Street under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, similar in effect to the Statement of Cultural Heritage Value in Attachment A. Do I have a mover and seconder for that motion? Janet and Nate? And all those who are in favor of the motion, I'm looking for a vote now. Okay. And is there anyone who's opposed to the motion? So it looks like the motion does move forward. Thank you. That's approved. So now I'm going to move on to the next item, which is under information and new business, the Heritage Ontario newsletter. So this newsletter contains a motion to extend the deadline for issuing notices of intention to designate properties listed on the municipal heritage registers. Does the committee have any questions? If there are no questions, which I don't see any coming up. Oh,
Excuse
Drew?
me, Mr. Chair, I just want to note that the two members who declared an interest are just in the waiting room still, and Jen's in the process of bringing them back.
Apologies for forgetting. Thank you. I'm getting hungry for supper. Welcome back, Jay. Sorry, I didn't mean to forget you and start going on with the meeting without you. We're just waiting.
I was waving my hands.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for Harold.
Looks like he might be back, but I don't see him as visual.
He's joining. He'll just be 1 minute.
Okay. There you are. Welcome back, Harold. So yeah, again, any questions regarding the notice of intent to designate properties and doing an extension? Seeing none, I'm gonna put a motion. It's a lengthy motion. I'm gonna read here. That the Heritage Advisory Committee recommend that council respectfully request that the province of Ontario further amend the Ontario Heritage Act to extend the January 1st, 2027 deadline for issuing notices of intention to designate for properties listed on the municipal heritage registers as of December 31st, 2022, and that the province consider extending the deadline to January 1st, 2030, or another reasonable timeframe that would provide municipalities with adequate time to complete heritage evaluations and make informed designation decisions. And that this resolution be circulated to the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the local member of Provincial Parliament, the Associated Municipalities of Ontario, the Ontario Municipal Heritage Committee Association, and all Ontario municipalities for their information and consideration. Do I have a mover and seconder for that motion? Harold and Gary. All in favor? So moved. Thank you. Now I'd like to move on to 1.2 Old Methodist Cemetery. I'd like to put it over to Gary for an update.
Thank you, Chair. Just some of our newer members, to give you some background, last fall we had Keith Blades come down he runs a restoration school in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And so him and his students came down to take a look at our Methodist cemetery on Highway 29. In that, he gave us a presentation basically explaining what would be required, the work that would be required, and he was going to, I believe in the spring, forward us some financial estimates that he would have. So as far as I know, Chair, we're just kind of waiting on Keith at this moment to give us some financials. In the meantime, as you know, I spoke to Sean McKenzie, and I asked him if he'd be willing, without cost, to try to remove some of those headstones from the cement encasing. So he said he would do that, and so that's number one. The second thing was I also met with the girl, Angela from Ontario Valley Stonekeepers. She cleans headstones, and she'd be willing to clean our whole cemetery for free as well. And I told her obviously to hold off on that until I hear back from the board. But and she could do that without she could start that like next week. So what I would like to propose is that we authorize Sean McKenzie to try and work his magic on one set of headstones. There's one set there that I saw, it had only 2 headstones versus say a set of 4. And he thought that would be a good one to try out. So I guess what I'm trying to do is keep this thing moving, number one, and see if we can't get Sean McKenzie, because I think regardless of what they've come back with from Keith Blades, regardless of what he says, I think we still need to ask Sean McKenzie to try his luck. And then once he does that, he'll be able to give us an idea of what it would cost to remove all the headstones from the cement encasings. So it's springtime now. I see no reason why Sean has to wait. And what I'd like is permission from the board, I guess, for him to take a crack at removing 2 of these headstones.
Thank
Question.
you, Gary. Melanie.
Thanks, Chair. I do have to say, I'm impressed by Gary's progress on this project, because I think it's been something that has been talked about for quite some time. I would suggest, Chair, that if the committee is favorable, that perhaps staff could work with Gary and Calvin Murphy, who's the manager of our Parks and Rec department, who's actually cemeteries fall under the Parks and Rec department portfolio. And we could work offline with them and maybe Sean to see how we could work out an arrangement if the committee thinks that's a good idea.
I'd also, yeah, thank you, Gary. It's a great initiative. I'd also like to ensure we do maybe a follow-up with Keith to see where things are at. And to also get his consultation or thoughts on that as well, on the potential of working with Sean and the other person you mentioned. Sorry, I've forgotten their name.
Oh, Angela.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I want to mention too that, I mean, he had also mentioned perhaps bringing some students down and having them work like throughout the summer, which again, you really can't make any decision until you learn how much is he looking for? Is there, price? Is this free because it's a student thing or what have you? So I definitely, I can touch base with Keith. I have his email, so I can do that. Ask him when that would be available. Kind of just get an update on that. And then I can also touch base with the town and maybe try to coordinate something. And then maybe before I do anything, we'll get back to the committee and then I'll say, okay, this is what we plan. I've talked to the town. And then I'll just get your go ahead then. So maybe what I'll do is just keep on going a little bit further, and maybe next month I'll have the number from Keith and I'll have some information from Sean. And then maybe we can then tell him to go ahead and try it if that works out.
Thank you, Gary. That sounds good to me. I think it'd be good to follow up with Keith before proceeding. So yeah, I think that'd be great. Any other questions, comments on that? If not, I believe we have another item that we need to bring up. That was the Robert Ewell building. Historic information and current documentation for the Robert Ewell's house and tailor shop on Ramsey Concession 8. It's a non-designated building, but is now in the process going to be demolished. They got a demolition permit for that building. I visited the site more than once, and it certainly is, I feel, beyond repair at this point. It's a wood structure that's so what we did is with municipal staff, we went and actually documented the site really well. So we have a documentation of it, and we're working with the family who his grandparents lived in the home. So we're looking now at maybe getting some old photos of inside the house and outside the house, and maybe we'll make a little outdoor exhibition outside where the property stood. So I think doing that is kind of a testament to the fact that it's surprising how long it's lasted as a very wood structure and been open to the elements for many, many years. Jennifer, do you have anything you want to add to that? Because Jennifer was there with me when we went and did our most recent site visit.
Hi, Michael. Hi, Jer. Sorry. Yes, it was a good process for us to go and document it. And I have reached out to the owner asking for old photos. I think it's just a good example of why it's important to designate these old structures that mean so much to our heritage and our community. Because of that, this building is being demolished. And yeah, I think it's a great idea that Michael has proposed of remembering it in some way. I will also mention that this came to staff's attention because there was a heritage sign that was actually posted out front of the building. A committee did a bunch of these signs previously. Although there was a sign there, it was not a designated building. We'll be posting some more photos that were taken, and we'll be able to share those with the committee when we receive them.
And it's a bit of a time capsule inside. You see the old wallpaper peeling, and so it's quite fascinating. Thank you for that. And so then I just want to move on. I don't think there was anything else. So moving on, the next Heritage Advisory Committee is scheduled for June 3rd. The meeting will be held over Teams. Where the town is switching over from to Teams from using Zoom. Yeah, so then I'd like to call for an adjournment of the meeting at 5:19 p.m.
Actually, Mr. Chair, just before we do, I guess back to item I, a few of us are attending the Heritage Conference in Hamilton.
Mhm.
Are there any specific activities that the committee recommends that we try to participate in or bring back specific information? I know in general we'll try to bring back some information, but according to the Heritage, the conference agenda, are there some items in there that the committee is most interested in? And if not right now on the spot, before we depart, maybe give us an indication. We'll have a meeting before the conference. Looks like June 3rd is our next meeting.
Thank you, Jay. We'll take a look and let you know. So I'm now looking for that. I'm going to adjourn the meeting now at 5:20. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.